All right. Hi, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing well. Looks like we're still seeing some people join us today, so I'll take just a second before really getting started. I just want to thank everybody for joining me today. I'm so glad that you guys could be here. Today I'm going to be talking about how to navigate through our new virtual event plan book. The flow of information cannot stop. It hasn't stopped. We still need to work, we still need to create, and we still need to fulfill that demand from our customers, which is hosting events. So we've seen large companies, large events this year make this transition. For example, the Adobe Summit 2020 is now hosted as an online event. Forrester with Serious Decisions now going virtual. Even the world's largest developing conference is now online. So this is our new space. This is where we're at now. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be discussing making that switch from our physical in-person events to now what is our virtual events, as well as sharing some best practices for hosting a successful online event. And my name is Lauren Chips. I'm a part of the enterprise marketing team here at Zoho. So I manage events and music conferences, our lead gen events, and all of that fun stuff. So before I get started, I just want to take care of a couple housekeeping things first. Starting with this webinar is currently being recorded, so I'll be sure to distribute that as soon as we wrap things up here. And also, if anybody has any questions at any point in time during the webinar, please don't hesitate to ask. There's a question box there on your screen. I'll be sure to get to those, as well as sticking around at the end for a little bit to answer any other questions that you guys may have. So it's a little after 1. I think I'll go ahead and get started. Today I'm going to start with talking about that transition from our physical events that we may have planned already and now moving into this new virtual space. And then I'll go into building our event out as an experience for our customers, and then follow that up with how to make it personal throughout the entire event. And this is where I'll be sharing some of our best practices that we use here at Zoho. So staying on Zoho for a little introduction, I know a lot of you guys are probably familiar with lots of our products, but for any newcomers or for those of you who don't know, Zoho is a product development company, and we've been around for almost a quarter of a century. And what we've done is create a web of over 45 different apps that are all integrated together. So it covers everything from your sales and marketing to finance and HR. I won't go too much into detail. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about who we are and what we do as a company. So now let's get into the content, which is making that transition into this new virtual space. So I want to take a quick pause. Let's see where you guys are at right now. So how much of your event planning has transitioned to virtual events in comparison to pre-COVID? Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of us are already moved into this virtual event planning, which is this is where we're at now. This is our new norm. So what does this look like for us? Maybe we had workshops planned or an idea for roadshow series, and we turn it into a webinar series or recorded trainings that are scalable. So this is really about choosing the right alternative for our event and how to best deliver this experience for our customers. Now, always looking on the bright side of things, with our ongoing pandemic and our current situations, we've seen companies all around the world that have adapted really quickly to our new norm. And this is great because we've realized that we don't need to cancel all of our events and we pivot them. So this is something that we can really get excited about because this is the direction that we were already moving. With today, everything being virtual and online, this is a chance for us to really take the opportunity and strengthen and utilize our online capabilities and presence, because virtual events are currently in the process of being elevated beyond what we're typically used to when joining these type of events. So one of the great benefits about going virtual is maximizing the use of our lead list. So we're able to heavily weigh on our familiar databases and lead lists that we were already using. So for example, take that email list that you always use to promote for your in-person physical event. This can still be used for our virtual events and possibly will even capture more traction from our attendees and registrations because we're getting rid of the logistics and our registrants having to plan their trip and book their trip and get their trip approved and all of that. So we're able to solidify that commitment with our registrants. And another great thing about our virtual events is that the content has an extended lifespan. So this is going to be generating constant demand for you. And not only are our attendees able to come back and revisit our material after we've hosted, but we're also going to see us capturing a whole new section of attendees that maybe weren't able to make it to the event on the live day that you hosted and can come back 1 day, 2 days, 3 days later after you've had the event and can experience it for themselves. And the last benefit that I just want to mention is easier and faster ROI tracked. So with our physical in-person events, we have this whole big package. We have our booth and we're sitting there trying to hand out swag and exchange those business cards and scan those badges. And at the end of the day, it's just who could you connect with? Who did you have time to talk to? And who booked business? Whereas with our virtual events, it's easier to track the ROI. As soon as somebody clicks on our event, we know who they are, what they're interacting with, what they're engaging with, and what they're interested in. So we're getting that information right away about who is our audience. So now going into picking the proper structure and event platform. This is about giving the best version of your event and how to deliver that. So we have live events and we have pre-recorded events. And obviously there's pros and cons to both. So starting with our live events, this is giving us that immediate dialogue with our attendees, and we're able to really understand how our customers are interacting with the event and get that feedback in real time. Whereas with our recorded events, this is going to be our mapped out content. So it's going to be polished and put together. And it's also going to give us an option for easing the nerves of some speakers that maybe aren't as comfortable going live. So we're able to have our content put together, deliver that great content that's put together with special effects, and it's scalable, and also ease the nerves of some of our speakers. The next thing that I want to mention that may be forgotten with virtual events is sponsorships. Now, I know in the beginning months of when COVID was progressing, my inbox was filled with email threads upon email threads from all of our conferences and trade shows about refunding our sponsorships or using it as a credit for maybe a future event. And this is something that we need to think about because we don't need to cancel our sponsorships. We don't need to refund unless this is something that we've discussed as a company and want to offer. And of course, if our sponsorships have requested this, it can be an option, but we still have opportunities that we can give our sponsorships. So this could look like using pre-roll before and after every session. or using virtual signage and banners. This is digital real estate. So these are opportunities that we can give our sponsorships that they can be excited about and still be involved in our events. All right, so now we're going to move into the second section of the webinar, which is about building that experience. And in our current times, this is essential for us to rise above all of the other cluttered noise that our customers are getting on a daily basis for all of their digital event opportunities. So this is why meticulous planning is crucial to go into the overall experience. So if we rework the structure of our event and play up the strengths of going digital, then we're able to create an interactive forum for our customers, and we're capturing our event in content, which is then going to entirely replicate our original event. And this is how we make successful events. We want it to be memorable and we want it to be unforgettable. So we want to think about creating an experience, and this is in the details. So it's not just another event to attend. How your attendees experience your event is your brand. So we want to be attentive, we want to be consistent, and of course we want to provide something beneficial for our customers. And this really is in the details, like I said. No detail is too small when it comes to interacting with our customers. So a little insight about Zoho's thought process on this. We've learned along the way with trying and testing. So starting with your event date and time, I'm sure most of you guys already have it figured out what works best for you. For example, here at Zoho, for a webinar just like this one, we'll host it on a Tuesday or Thursday and then right about after lunchtime. And this is what we found really gets that traction for us, and it's our busiest time for an event of this type. And if you don't know, test. That's how you're going to find your answer. Another thing that I'd like to mention about making the details very personalized is delivering a UI that's friendly and going to be well received. So we want to keep it easy and we want to keep it simple. If you take the Google search window, for instance, this is uncluttered, it's simple, and this stands out because it's giving you exactly what you're looking for. You know exactly what it's going to do. And this elegance speaks louder than the bells and whistles that sometimes we can go overboard with. And lastly, I just want to mention that it's very important to consider that everybody is sharing different typical work days, different schedules, and our new work days are a little bit different now. So we're going to be having people attend our event from different situations and different devices. So that's why it's really important to be mobile friendly and also consider maybe if people don't have audio or sound, then maybe you should provide, visual infographics, things that they can follow along without needing to listen. And this is all about delivering that experience and making it easy for our attendees. So now we're going to go into picking your platform for promotion. So there's lots of different platforms to use for promoting, and picking one can be challenging. So along with your email marketing that you're already doing, we need to choose a social media that's going to reach our intended audience. So we do this by looking at the different demographics that are using these different social media platforms, and that will tell us the different purposes that these social medias are being used for. So of course we see Facebook here with the most users at 2 billion, and then it's followed by Instagram and then LinkedIn. And this is insight that we like to use because it's telling for us for who is using which platform and for what. And this is how we then decide which platform is best for our event and how to reach who we want and how we want to reach them. So next I want to share with you guys the dominant age groups using each platform. So with LinkedIn, you can see that they have the oldest dominant age group with 61% of their users being ages between 31 and 60. And then you can see here that Instagram has our youngest crowd which has 59% of its users between the ages of 18 and 30. And this is the type of information that we use and then compare it to our known demographics of our intended audience. And so then when we're doing things like filtering for our campaigns, for things like titles, company size, different demographics like that, we compare from our intended audience to what the demographics of the social media is. All right, so we've picked our promo platform and we know our marketing channels now. So we move into where we're gonna host and picking which platform. Different event structures require different features, and lots of people already have, their virtual video conferencing platforms, but social media platforms also have live capabilities. So let's talk about when to use both options. Starting with video conference platforms, you guys will notice that this webinar is currently being run on Zoho Meeting. Here at Zoho, Zoho runs on Zoho. So we have all of our own products running in-house throughout our entire organization. And Zoho Meeting is not only great for webinars such as this one, it's also great for all of your online meetings and conferences, or even hosting an interview with customers post-event and getting some interaction afterwards. It's also great to be used for panel discussions or your open house sessions. And I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't mention security and privacy. It's really important. This needs to be taken seriously when considering different platforms, any platform. And so I know we've seen lots of companies in the news recently with data breaches and hacking of their meetings. So here at Zoho, we adhere to all of the industry standards. We don't share or sell any of your data, and this is one of Zoho's big priorities. So it's very important to consider. Now, on the flip side, we're going to go into the social media platforms, and this is where our live events can take place. So starting with LinkedIn, this is where we're going to be reaching our most professional audience. LinkedIn has over 100 million users that are in decision-making positions and senior level titles. So this is great for educational videos, live videos. They also verify all of their live broadcasters, so you know that it's all quality content. On the contrary, Instagram is going to be a little bit more of a casual platform. This is great to use for collaborating with your viewers, live discussions, interviews. It has features that you can pin comments and get that engagement going right with your audience if you're looking to discuss with them right there on the spot. Okay, so now we're into the third section of the webinar, and this is talking about making it personal. And this is shown through all three phases of your event. This is pre-event, while you're hosting the event, and post-event. And we know when our events are highly personalized, then we have a better chance of it being unforgettable. So let's go ahead and break down these three sections. Our pre-event interactions, we want to engage with our registrants early on. This will help us save our attendance rate. Fallout is inevitable, but if we save those few registrations that are trickling in as soon as our registration form goes live, then we're able to interact with them right away, which is going to lead up to them solidifying the commitment that they made to register for our event. So some of the things that we can do for these interactions and touch points would be like creating discussion boards or pre-event surveys. And this is going to help build up that hype leading up to the event and get people talking about your topics. We can also ask for social media shares and host pre-event contests. Maybe the more they share, then the more they enter to win giveaways and swag. And now this brings us into hosting the event. And this is about keeping our attention, keeping our attendees' attention. So depending on our topics and our type of event, if we're hosting on something that allows us to share access, then we can really enhance that engagement with our customers and allow them to share their thoughts. So I want to give an analogy about hosting the event. I'm sorry. So also, if you can share mic access and give the attendees a chance to share, then they're able to engage right away. Another thing that's great to do during hosting the event is creating a hashtag that our attendees can use to share their feedback and post on social media. And this will get them to interact, and you can get their feedback right away, as well as people can come back and revisit your event and experience it through other people's posts. So now this brings us to after the event. I want to start with giving an analogy with post-event interaction. So if you guys have ever had a personal trainer or done or educated yourselves on nutrition and working out, then they'll tell you the importance of eating protein after your workout, and this is to promote muscle production and recovery. So this is the same with catching that short window of contact with your attendees while your event is still fresh on their mind. And just like that choice of protein is important, your choice of content is also important to serve a purpose. So our follow-up needs to give high value for that final impact on our customers from our event. So this can look like sending personalized thank you videos depending on your audience size. This can be really personalized, or even making those phone calls for that post-event networking, and filtering out our hot lead list from our attendees and sharing that straight into our sales team so that our attendees are pushed right into the journey that they're looking for. At the end of our event, this is just the beginning. It doesn't end here. This is just the beginning for our attendees to really fulfill what they're looking for. So now we're going to talk about choosing the right medium, and this can be a challenge for picking what's going to work best for our follow-up and our follow-up goals. So starting with the main and big one, our email, automated email marketing. You can see the pros and cons listed here, and I will be sharing the presentation afterwards. So I know it's a lot to get right now. You don't need to worry about getting it all down. You'll be able to visit it after. So one thing that we like to do here at Zoho sometimes is those sending the direct mail, because 64% of people visit a website in reaction to that direct mail that they're getting. So this is going to get that deep customer appreciation and get that engagement right after our event. It all depends on what we want to accomplish and what our CTA is for picking the right medium. So a little insight about what we do here. Like I said earlier, we use all of our products internally. So everything from sales and marketing, customer support, all departments are running on Zoho. So for our email marketing, this is going to be on Zoho campaigns. And this integrates with our CRM and we can set it up, and the email campaign is ready to go. So our personalized tracks give our attendees different journeys depending on what they're looking for and how they interact with our content. And this is based on activity. So how they interact with the first email that I send them. Say I send them a follow-up message right after the email, they click it. So then maybe I'll send them, a white paper report or something else that will feed their interest into our pipeline. Now, to wrap up the Making It Personal section of this webinar, I just want to share a few best practices that we use here at Zoho, starting with making sure that our event is easy accessible. We've all had those bad experiences when trying to access events, and it's just too tricky sometimes, and a lot of us are working from home, and if we don't have that admin support that we typically do, then we need to be considerate of people not able to download those separate softwares and other apps and things like that. So we want to make sure that our attendees know where to be and when to be there, and it's easy for them to access. Number 2 is practicing several dry runs. You want to work out any issues. You want to get your speakers comfortable with the content. You want to work out any other kinks that may come up, and make sure your slides are loading, make sure everything flows. And then lastly, number 3, I want to mention being considerate of your attendees' time. So we've allocated certain times, they've worked their schedules out to attend your event, and you want to be respectful. And this all goes into the experience of your attendees as well, including the entire event, question and answering, all of that. You want to be considerate of their time. So now this brings us to the end of the webinar. I'll summarize a little bit. We started with talking about transitioning to our new virtual event space, and this is about choosing the right structure and delivery for your event. And then we talked about building the experience of your event, and this is for your attendees, and encouraging that engagement. And then we followed that up with making it personable every step of the way, and engaging with our attendees. So I just want to thank everybody for joining me today. I'm so glad that you guys could be here. If there are any questions, please reach out. My email here is provided on the screen. I will be sending out the recording of this webinar, and I'll stick around a little bit to answer any questions that you guys may have. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you guys at our next webinar. And let's get into the question segment. All right, so this one's asking, how do we measure the success of virtual events? So this is a great question. So here at Zoho, we've built an ROI dashboard for our events using Zoho Analytics. So it takes a look at all of our registrations, who attended, how many of them are from our platforms, and how many of them have installed our user base versus customers, and then how many of those customers purchases products after webinar. So this lays it out in a very easy, digestible way, and we've really enjoyed using that. All right, this one's asking, how do virtual event budgets compare to physical event budgets? Okay, great. So virtual event budgets have low marketing and operating costs, which is great. They can be very budget friendly. So companies who aren't hosting physical events are cutting costs on venue fees, AV production, service staff, transport, VIP accommodation, all of that stuff. So overall, virtual events demand less expenditure compared to physical events, and you get more out of your return. Okay, this one's asking, how long in advance do I need to plan my event? So this depends really on the caliber of your event. So with digital events, it's great how fast and easy one can be planned and up and running. We're able to just throw these up within less than 24 hours. If it's something that, simple like a live chat discussion, whereas if it's something a little bit more intricate, like transforming your user conference, then this really should be planned at least 8 to 10 weeks in advance. And you also want to allow time for, ample promotions for your event. And this is important to keep in mind. So we usually give about 2 weeks time frame for webinar promotions like this one. Okay, I'll answer one more. This one's asking, how many people should I expect will show up for an online event? So at Zoho, we see an average attendance rate of about 40%. It also depends on the type of event and if there's a fee or if it's free. So paid events like product trainings or workshops always have a higher attendance rate because they have, you know, a stronger leg in your event. They've paid for it. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys all stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you guys at our next webinar.